You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, no, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm here with Glenn Hemanes. Glenn helps change makers, the disruptors and storytellers create their biggest impact. He designs presentation decks for exceptional speakers and startups to clarify their message and engage their audience. The skills he has gained from working at Apple, Sun Microsystems, Kaiser Permanente, and Fox Studios allowed him to follow his passion for creating a more emotionally connected world through visual storytelling. I love what you do, Glenn. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I know we talked a little before I started recording about this. The whole basis for Oh My Health, There Is Hope is to share stories of hope. And I know you had an incredible story you wanted to share, and I'm going to just up and let you share it.
Well, like we were saying earlier, I think, there's so many things that come to mind, but one of the things that has really resonated with me lately, especially with COVID and everything going on we're not social distancing, but physically distancing. And depression is a big part of that and how it affects all of us in different ways. And so I've been on my own personal journey of dealing with that and addressing it in a variety of different ways. I was diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder about 3 years ago, and I did the same kind of route where I think a lot of people do. You start taking medications, and I found that they just didn't work for me. And what I really realized was that there were certain behavioral things that actually helped me, that served me much better in the long run than taking any kind of medication. And so I started at the beginning of the year when this whole COVID thing was happening, writing everything down, just kind of journaling it. And then I turned that into a presentation, because that's what I do. And then I started sharing with our Rotary Club. I'm a member of Rotary International and a couple of the other clubs, and just started doing what I could to help others with facing, mitigating depression and anxiety. And so that's there was a silver lining in that. And so being open and talking about it has been a big step for me, and hopefully helps other people.
You know what? I love that you come on and talk about it, because one of the stigmas with depression is nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's ongoing. It's like they feel like they've talked it out and nothing's changing, right? And they just don't want to talk about it. But it's so important to not be ashamed of it, to not hold it in, and to ask for help. So besides doing what you did, how do you ask for help when you're going through a depressing state?
Boy, that's an excellent idea, because I didn't think I was bad at asking for help, but I think I actually am, and I'm learning how to do that. Asking for help is really tricky. A lot of people say, oh, you just ask for help, but it's how do you ask for help? Like, what do you say? And I think what it is that it's not really asking as much as, because when you ask, there's an expectation. And I think that kind of frames it out in a different way. And so what I discovered was that actually just speaking to people about it and kind of openly reflecting about it and being grateful for whatever it is that they offer back. And I think that to me was a big shift in mindset, and it really, I think, opened the doors more to other people coming to me and talking to me about their own personal experiences and struggles with depression.
And we're never going to get to the root cause. We're never going to be able to make a change in it if we don't talk about it and make it
Yeah.
a comfortable place to talk about and educate people on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, and there's so many factors. There's environmental, there's internal, and I'm continuing to learn about what's kind of going on in my own head. I had a friend of mine that just recently, about 4 days ago, told me about the study that Stanford University has done about the 15 cognitive disorders that happen in a lot of people, and we run these stories in our head, and they've identified 15 cognitive disorders, they call it. And there are certain stories like we mass generalization, or we label, or we have black and white thinking, or mind reading. There are all these things. And what was amazing about it is when I started reading them, unfortunately I hit a lot of like check marks, but at the same time it was nice to be able to identify something. It didn't feel like these were just things that were kind of randomly coming from nowhere. There was a name for it. And there's an app actually too that helps too. It helps you to identify, and then it gives you exercises as far as how to address it. So
I love that. So there's some help right there.
there is. Yeah, there
it's
is.
a step, right? It's the first step. So I think that's great. I want to talk about what you do. So we're going to put this all in the show notes, but you can go to Glenn's Designs, which is Glenn's his website, and he's about storytelling. And I say this all the time. Like I always am saying, your story is so powerful. It is, especially when told really well, right?
Yep.
It is so powerful, and it truly is our superpower. It's ours. Nobody else has our story.
Yeah.
They may have been through similar journeys, but we brought something else out of it than they did, right?
Yeah,
Tell us about how you go through the process and how that is impacting people's lives, their businesses now on social media.
Well, as far as the importance of storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that my background's coming from graphic design, so I think in terms of visuals, and I think that before you even get to the visual stuff, you have to understand the message, and before you get the message, you really have to be able to express yourself in a way that keeps people engaged. So it really comes down to your engagement, whether you're on camera or you're in an audience in person. And so being able to express yourself in a way that people will follow you is what I like to call the train of thought. It's storytelling in its essence. Because if people can follow what you're saying and where you're going to lead to next, you're going to keep them engaged. So how you do that is where the art of the storytelling comes in, and then so there's certain aspects as far as, do you want to start out with a grand story? Do you want to start out with something that's going to keep, lock them in right in the beginning, something with a little bit of mystery? So you have like what's called the exposition of a story, and then you have the problem, and then you have the solution, and then you have the resolution, which is basically kind of like the moral to the story. So those are the four basic parts of the story in its very simplified version. But everybody's individual perception of what that story is what's really going to make that story engaging and will resonate with people, because it's going to be more authentic to them.
So I think that when you're working online and building rapport with strangers, basically building your business,
Yeah.
people learn in different ways, right? I could put something out there and someone will read it and they'll learn something from it, but other people don't learn that way. They don't receive that way.
Yeah.
Some people I can give verbally instructions to and they're going to get it. And others are like, nope, I got to touch it. I got to feel it.
Yep.
I'm visual. I'm visually stimulated. I think about the trailers they make for movies, right? We go to the movie because of the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So think
absolutely.
about your website, your story when you're on stage speaking. Remember the best speakers you see, and they come in, they have this big grand, entrance with the storyline behind them, and you just can't wait to hear them. That's kind of like what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny that you mentioned using trailers, because I was doing a talk earlier this year with some students at the Westlake Harvard Business School, and it was about the art of storytelling. And somebody asked me, like, what's a good example of really good storytelling? And instead of telling them about like a certain book or I kind of went the non-conventional way, and I thought trailers. I said, you want to look at like really good storytelling, watch movie trailers, because they have a very limited amount of time, and they really have to get you from the beginning. And there's a certain formula, but all of them have a little bit of that same. There's something a little bit different, and there's either you think it's going to be a romantic comedy and it shifts to a horror movie, but they do something that's always gets you engaged. But studying trailers is really, I think, an excellent example. I try to do that actually with the first slide when I do a presentation. I make that first slide is kind of like the trailer. I really bring them in visually, make it interesting, kind of give it's kind of the exposition before the exposition. And so it gets people engaged in what the presenter is going to be talking about. So I love that example. Yeah.
Well, before you and I met up, I literally wanted a trailer. And I went talking to people who do graphic designs, who do video. And I told them I want a trailer for my website telling about what I do. I want people to get excited. Listen, people don't opt in for your price point, your beautiful photo, what you're selling. They opt in for a feeling and an emotion.
Yeah.
That's what sets you apart. What feeling are they receiving from what you're offering? And they get excited about it. Like if I want to have a bikini in June and I see this girl saying, come work with me, she's standing there in a bikini. I'm like, I want that. It's a feeling I want. And
Exactly.
so that's how you create it. But when I told them I wanted a trailer, they thought I was crazy. They're like, how do we do that? I'm like, I want to tell a story in a short period of time that gets people excited and speaks to them and draws them in.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've done hundreds of investor decks, and I work with a lot of startup companies. And the thing that's so important to get across, and when you're developing something, when you're the kind of the engineer, you're working on the product, and you think it's going to sell itself because it's so great. In reality, people need the emotional connection, and so in a presentation, I make sure that we not only get down the statistics and the important stuff and the data about it, but are they connecting with you on an emotional level? Because everyone, like you said, we make decisions based off emotion. We back it up with the data. We need to know what the traction is, and what is the market, and what's the ROI, and all those other things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, people make decisions based off the emotional connection. For sure.
I 100% agree. I know that building social media for me, I'm older, right? I started building social media in my 50s. I didn't know anything about it. And people are like, how did you grow that quickly? I was authentic. I shared my story and it connected with people. One of the things we talk about all the time in my groups is that when they created Superman, he was a flop. Nobody wanted the superhero Superman until they entered in kryptonite and he became vulnerable, right? And all of a sudden, I know, true story. All of a sudden, when we knew something could happen to him, we got emotionally invested in if he survived and if he was able to move forward. And he became kind of an underdog when the kryptonite came around and it blew him up. So let your wounds show, let everything that you have out there show. And the great way to do it is through something like what you do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I actually didn't know that story about Superman, but that it totally makes sense, because if there's no downside, there's no risk. I think a lot of movies fall into this trap now, where you have, especially like the superheroes, that there's no consequence. You're not emotionally engaged because there's no vulnerability. There's no, you're not worried about something happening. So I think, I think being authentic, showing everything, showing the cracks. And that's one of the reasons why I opened up and talking about depression. Also because I really felt like this was an opportunity for me to help and connect with a lot of people that I can help. Because ultimately, that's what I want to do personally, is be able to help as many people as possible. Especially with this, especially with dealing with isolation and all the negative thoughts and trying to really navigate our way through in a healthy and productive way.
And I know that old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Can you imagine what a video's worth?
That's right.
Seriously, it's so powerful. When I have to go on stage and speak, I can tell the audience isn't really engaged and tell the point, because they look at me and they don't see those scars. They see me on the healthy side of things. And then that before picture and after picture pop up behind me. And I literally will hear the audience gasp. And they immediately, I see their bodies lean forward. Like, what did she do? What happened? Yeah. And so your story has to do something like that. You have a very short amount of time on a website or an ad to grasp their attention in a very authentic way. So how long are your videos normally?
Between 30 seconds and probably the longest is 5 minutes. I probably have a couple of them that are a little bit longer, but for the most part, they really can't be any longer than I think statistically it's like 90 seconds is like at the most of what people look at. Small videos are great. I love the format. I've been creating a lot of those lately for other clients, and it's a way for people to understand, get engaged, and be able to, consume when we're in such a distracted world, as it is. And even though a lot of us are working from home, there's still a lot of distraction. There's probably more distraction working from home now. I think that's a whole nother topic about, how to be able to be productive and separate your work life from your family life when you're working from home. And it's a challenge.
100%. It is a challenge working from
Yeah.
home. It's hard just to even get in the business mindset because you're walking around your jammies till, 9 o'clock when you're normally in the office. So it's definitely a whole mindset thing.
It is. It is. Well, I have a schedule. I've had a home office for the last 20 years. And so even when I was working corporate, I would come home and I'd always have an office. I had an office probably since college. And it's always like this area that I used, for work. And so when I'd come home from doing design work, I'd have clients that I'd do design work for. I grew up in Silicon Valley, and so there were a lot of startups. And so I would do design work in my office when I'd come home. And that's something that's always continued wherever I've moved to. I've had an office. And so now I have a very structured life. I have a 24-hour schedule that I live from. I go to bed at 10 and get up at 5, and I exercise and meditate, and having that structure and that regiment has allowed me to be able to be productive and separate my work life and my social life and everything else. And also wearing shoes in the house. Have house shoes. It's so
Great.
important. I think a lot of people, if you figure you're at home, you're just walking around, it's really bad for your back. So have like shoes that never leave the house. So, don't walk with them outside, but wear them in the house, and it's much better for your back.
By the way, I have house shoes and I come in, I take my shoes off and they stay by the door on this little rug we have. And then I slip on my house shoes and I never wear those outside. And you're right. You don't know what you're bringing inside from
Oh yeah,
outside. And
exactly.
yeah, so I definitely do it. But I love that you have the mindset to do that. Me, I'm the same way. I get up and dress for work at the same time every single day.
Yeah.
And I show up just like I was going to be at the office because if I don't take my business serious, I do not have a serious business for
I love
sure.
that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so true. Discipline, consistency, the kind of boring things, but those are the things that are essential to being a productive, successful entrepreneur, for
I
sure.
want to talk about some of the other stuff you do besides video content. I know that you do the whole setups for onstage presentations and brand consulting and like you do virtual backgrounds. That's crazy
Yeah.
good. Like everybody
Thank you.
needs that right now. What are
Yeah.
some of the other things that you do?
Yeah, actually, I debated whether or not I was going to do this with the virtual background, but this is actually real. But what I did do, one of the things that I'm working on lately is creating virtual backgrounds. But like you have a really nice background, and so one of the things that I've been doing lately is actually record. I have a recording of this, and so all the lighting and everything is set up. So I'm not in the scene. And then I put up a green screen, and then I put the video of this background behind me. And the great thing about that is that the lighting matches perfectly because it's the same lighting. So people don't know that this is actually a virtual, or not right now, but when I have it up, it looks just like this. And so you get the lighting on there, but then you can change it. And I use Ecamm a lot, and I can change the background. I can make myself smaller and put up other graphics. I think this year I've done about 4 presentations with Ecamm, and I've designed the templates so that I am on a small circle inset, and then the video is playing, or the graphics and everything are playing around me. And that way I don't have to change cameras. I don't have to do screen share. I can still see everybody like I normally see them. And then I can run the presentation. So
So I
it's,
experienced that the last time we talked and that was phenomenal.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you about virtual backgrounds while we're on the topic, because it's a question I have. I hate them. I think they're visually beautiful, but I can tell someone's using them. And here's the thing, I'm all about being authentic, right?
Yeah.
And so when I see them move, and you can see that blurb, you know, because
Oh
of
yeah.
the
Yeah.
lighting go, and I'm like, if that's not real, what else isn't real?
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts.
I
But
know.
they
I
are
know.
amazing when they're done really well.
Yeah, it does take a lot of work to get them just right. They have to be really well lit. So you have to have your green screen has to be lit from top to bottom. There's a lot of finagling to get it like just dialed in right. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of using the green screen in general because they're just not there. The technology isn't quite there, but you can do it, you know, and like I said, if you have your actual background that you're running in a video loop, that is one way to kind of make that jump look a little more authentic. But yeah, I think it's important to try to have your background as realistic as possible. I actually really like to do not necessarily the background, but doing the foreground graphics. So using Ecamm again, I've got my little branding here. um, yeah, you know, things like that I think are important. I've been working with a couple companies on creating brand consistency when it comes to their employees working virtually. So in order to be able to, you know, keep that professionalism from either you're working from home or working from the office, you know, consistent, I put in the branding either in a virtual background. I'll have like a setup where it's like photoshopped into the background, like it can, you know, be on your fireplace or something, or it's the logo looks like it's etched in. So it's kind of a
Oh,
cool effect.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. Or I'll have in the foreground, you know, like I have here with the you know, with a little bit of transparency to it.
And, you know, for people who don't understand what brand consistency does for your business, it's huge. It really is, because people start to recognize you. They start to associate with that. A lot of that brings credibility to you because they're seeing it consistently. And if you show up one way one day and another way another, and pretty soon they don't know really what your story is.
Right, right. Yeah, there's so many you know, and I think this it's kind of a subconscious thing more than anything. I mean, the obvious stuff is like having the logo and the color treatment and framing it and putting in those things. Those are really important too. But also just being in a sitting up position or standing up position, having the camera set up a right way. I just posted a video on setting up your virtual office. And my setup, I've got two screens right here. I've got the camera in the middle. I've got a ring light here. I've got other ring lights around me. Everything's like dialed in because it's important that people see you literally in the best light, but also make sure that it doesn't look like you're just kind of, you know, sitting back and you know the camera's looking up your nose and you know
I've
I think
seen those. Or they're looking down at you because
or
it's down here.
right, right. Well, and actually, it's a whole nother exercise to get used to looking at a camera. So right now, I'm looking at my camera, but I can see you out of the corner of my eye because I have the monitor or the screen of you really close. So I can, you know, and it's training. It's taken, you know, it takes a while to get used to that, but it really it helps. It helps with authenticity because you feel like I'm, you know, looking in your eye, you know
Right.
and as opposed to like talking to you like this, which would be really weird.
But by the way, that's what most of my calls look like with people. So I don't think they quite get it yet. Or if they do, they just don't have those little tricks. I definitely want people to go to your YouTube because seriously, putting in the right lighting and understanding that you talk to the camera and not to yourself, wherever that
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah, yeah, it takes a while. I did about I think about 4 years ago, I did a video called How to Get Camera Comfortable, and I actually shot it when we were on vacation in Machu Picchu. So it's really cool, and there's a llama at the end if you stayed at the very end, and it's pretty fun. But I basically was walking down the street talking about the 5 things that you need to be camera comfortable and how to get camera comfortable. And a big part of it is just talking as if you're just speaking to one person. Like you and I talking and doing this is great. It feels very natural. Sometimes though, you know, if you're recording a video for the masses, it's it's a it's a different kind of mindset. You think you're on stage when in reality you can just think about you're just talking to like your closest friend, you're FaceTiming with your family or something. And so that's one of the hacks that I found out really well. You know,
By the
just
way, when I am on stage, I'm only talking to one person. I pick their faces in 3 places, so I remember to move, but I'm
yeah,
still only talking to one person because I get overwhelmed. I get
absolutely.
overwhelmed and distracted, and I'm literally always talking to one person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly what you have to do. Yeah, because it can be very overwhelming, and you know, it doesn't. Well, I think it goes back to the authenticity part of it too. If you're going to be speaking to like masses of people, uh, there's not that authentic connection than if you were speaking to just one person. And
Right.
I think it helps as you know, we're very finite beings. We need to have like one-to-one conversations as opposed to just, you know, blasting
Well, and
out.
it feels more personal and there's more intent behind it. And can tell you this, if you're standing on a stage speaking to people, 5,000 people, a quarter of those people are going to be like, what the heck? They took potty breaks, right? And you were not their cup of tea. Another quarter are going to be like, yeah, I got something out of it. But that quarter that you were speaking to because you were being authentically you, they are going to follow you around the world. They're going to be standing in line to meet you. They're going to think that, oh, wow, they were talking. I think she looked at me. They were talking directly to me.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful it is when you really understand your message is not always for the masses and just be authentic when you're delivering it, which is what I love that you do.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity every day to be able to create that empathetic connection with people. That is it's a personal life mission of mine to be able to live in a world that people are more empathetically connected. And so the way that I have made, that's my vision and my mission, is to do that through graphic design, through visual storytelling, and to help those people like yourself be able to connect with their audience in a way that is going to resonate with them more, you know, through visuals.
One of the other things I've been really promoting people to do, especially my clients, and I have a few celebrity clients, is testimonials are so powerful. And if you can
Mhm.
grab, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. when,
Yes, yes,
because you see their excitement, you see like they're being authentic and their truthfulness, then a quote by them, right?
yeah.
So do you like maybe compile those in a beautiful video as far as these are what people are saying about blah, 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 and do those videos? Because I had put together one and it was kind of, you can tell I did it, but I think that they're so important that you have that journey, like that journey of who you are and what you offer, that journey of what people are receiving from that offer and how they're moving out into the world.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I'm in the process of redoing my website, and I'm working with somebody who does marketing. Because one of the, I don't know if you know Simon Manorin, I'll quote him: "You can't read the label when you're inside the jar." And
Right.
so having somebody else that helps, seeing it from the outside, really helps. So even though I do marketing and branding for other people, it helps to have somebody to work with that can help me. So this person I'm working with is helping me with structuring the website, and um, her name's Bethany. I'm Bethany Sunny, so I want to give her a shout out. She's awesome. She is helping me with my website, and we have different packages. And on each of the packages, I've created a lot of video testimonials. They're very important, and so we're using those as kind of the commercials for each one of the packages now. And so how you use them is really important too. I've got probably about 15 to 20 testimonials, and I ask people all the time. Sometimes they volunteer, sometimes I ask them, and I've been collecting them, but I haven't really like used them. They're on my YouTube channel and some are on my website, but they're very important because I think it's people need to see not just you telling them, but having other people uh, tell them tell you about them is really important.
It's the
Yeah.
exact same thing as creating that beautiful trailer or video, bringing them into the website. It's so much more powerful to give them 30 to 60 seconds of, wow, what is this? It's the same when you see their excitement, like, wow, I had so much fun working with her and I love
Yeah.
this and I love that, and you get excited, it spreads. So
Oh
I think
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
really powerful. I can't wait to see your new website because I want to do that. I
Yeah.
want Bethany and you to help me get that done because I think it's that powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely share it with you. I got, it was, and because we're doing so much in Zoom, and I record like all my Zoom calls pretty much just for my own records. I can go back and, if I'm meeting with a client and I need to be able to like check my notes on something. And one of the people that I'm working with is Kenny Arnoff. He's like a famous drummist. He's a drum player. He's worked with like all the major brands or major bands. And, I showed him the kind of the trailer to his presentation, and his reaction was just great. And it was like, and I got it recorded, and I said, "Hey, can I turn this into a post? Because this is like your response was just awesome." And he had me like play it over and over. So it's in this. I like played it like 3 times to him, and then it like the video loops. So that was great. And then I got that reaction. And then another client of mine who's a good friend, she like literally cried when I showed her the artwork that I did for her branding and everything. And so I didn't get that recorded, but she gave me a testimonial after and kind of retold that part of the story. So, 2 very great reactions, very different reactions. But yeah, capturing that authenticity and having other people's reactions to what you do is really key. Yeah.
Well, Glenn, this has been amazing. Can you tell people, besides going to glensdesigns.com, where they can find you?
Boy, I'm on Instagram, Glenn's Designs. I'm on Facebook. I believe that's also Glenn's Designs. If you look up Glenn's Designs, GLENNSDESIGNS, both with S's, you'll find me. Yeah.
Yay. I just found you. I'm not even following. What the heck's up with that?
What? How'd that
I
happen?
am now.
Oh, thank you.
I am now. You got one more follower.
Right on. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being with us today. You guys, all of this will be in the show notes. You can just click on those links and go visit Glenn's Designs. And by the way, he has a lot of beautiful videos up for you to see his work. And, I'm an interior designer, so I did all my life before I got in health and wellness. And they are visually amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Jana. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited. I can't believe that. It felt like it was months ago when we talked, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this, and it's like it's here already, and But I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.